If you get my voice on screen, those are attending in online. Guys, please confirm to me. All of you get my voice on screen. Those are attending in online. Is my voice is clear to all of you guys? Guys, please confirm to me. All of you get my voice on screen. Those are attending in online. All right, sir. And check it what we completed in the last session. All right, and in the last session, and we understood some points like what there ID attribute and name attribute, both the things here we provided, and scopes related things already we started. All right, sir. Right now, all right, first of all, let's see the content here, what I'm telling to you. Scopes, if you are thinking in Spring applications for the beans, we are able to define scopes to the beans by using the scope attribute in a bean tag in a configuration file. To define scopes to the beans, Spring Framework has provided nearly 7 types of scopes. What are the 7 types of scopes here we are having there? Singleton scope, prototype scope, request scope, application scope, session scope, global session scope, WebSocket scope. Out of all these 7 now, only first 2 are supported by core module. Remaining all we are going to use in what their web module. All right. So singleton and prototype, these 2 scopes only are required for us. Now observe carefully what exactly the meaning of singleton scope. What is this singleton scope? No, singleton scope is what there per bean definition in the Spring configuration file, one bean object will be created. Even though we can call get bean method 1000 number of times, only the same object reference here we are able to get. Prototype scope is what there. All right. Prototype scope is what there. How many times we access get bean method, that many number of times a separate new bean object is created. That is called as what there prototype scope now. Already I shown some examples to you, then by that we are getting some clarity. But I have a question actually. What is my question here? Observe carefully. I have a question now. My question is, if we observe the difference between bean factory and application context. In bean factory, when bean object is created, when we call get bean method. In application context, when bean object is created at the time of container startup. That means eager loading and early eager loading, and what next one here, lazy loading, that we have seen there clearly. Bean factory is following what there lazy, but whereas application context is following what there eager. Understand it or not? So at the time of container startup, all bean objects are created by like what there, all bean objects are created by this application context. But in the case of prototype scope, what we are saying there, when we call get bean method, then only bean object is created. But if I use application context, as per the nature of the application context, it is creating bean object at what time there, at the time of startup. But as per the prototype scope, that bean object will be created when we call get bean method. So both are at 2 different opposite statements or not? Say for example, in the case of application context, and if we provide prototype scope, no, at what time really that bean object is going to be created? 2 cases are available at the time of application context startup, that is in general for application context. And second one is what there at the time of calling get bean method. Which one is right? In the case of prototype scope, no, which one is right? You get my point here, no? Now, let us have that experiment, small experiment. Then after that, I'll come for like what there, this particular content here. Now, let me have this question there. After that, we are going to see that particular point. In general, in application context, all bean objects are created at the time of container startup. At the time of what there, container startup. Fine. In beans, if you provide prototype scope, then bean object will be created. Bean objects will be created at the time of calling get bean method. Okay. All right, sir. Now the point is what that if we provide prototype scope to a particular bean, prototype scope to a particular bean, and if you use application context container, then how bean objects are created, how bean object is created, not bean object is created by the application context. I'm giving extension point here. Is it created at the time of that is bean object is created at the time of application context startup or at the time of calling get bean method? That's the question, guys. I think so you understood my question clearly. Please read the statement what I've given there. First of all, I've given both the cases. No, in general, in application context, all bean objects are created at the time of container startup. In beans, if we provide prototype scope, then bean object will be created at the time of calling get bean method. If we provide prototype scope to a particular bean and if we use application context container, then how bean object is created by the application context? Is it created at the time of application context startup or at the time of calling get bean method? Understood my question clearly? Now let's see this one. Already we prepared some programs there. Now let me open that IntelliJ IDEA. Last example already we prepared that. There I want to go for this trial. By that you are able to get some clarity. Let me open it. Right, sir. File new. No, not new. Open. D drive. Then inside this here we have to go with what there. After that and Spring 830 APP 06. Sorry, 1 minute. Right, sir. Now here wish.java is existed here. Or let me take constructor public wish system.out.println of wish bean object is creating. Okay. Next, in a Spring configuration file, scope I provided is what there, prototype scope I provided. Okay. Now in main.java, Now here I want to provide like what there sys.out println of before application context startup. Sys.out println of after application context startup. Okay, the remaining thing is what then calling getBeans method. Prototype scope getBeans method. So now here almost all how many times here we called here? Four times. Four times we called here. All four objects here we are displaying. Got it or not? Now here my question is I specified prototype scope now. At the time of application context startup, is that bean object is created or not? Anyway, I got confirmation when we call getBean method, definitely new object will be created. But as per the nature of the application context, will it create that bean object at the time of application context startup or not? If it is a case, no, between before application startup and after application startup, between that, we need to get object creation, which bean object is creating. Like this, we have to get a message. Got it or not? Now, let me check this. For the sake of us, I want to give one line space also for separating the total content here. For every call of getBean method, definitely object will be created. Now let me check this again. Let me execute this. Now see this, what we are getting there. Have you seen anything about like bean object is creating between before application context and after application context? In between that means that what is the meaning of it now? Application context is losing its nature or not, and it is following prototype scope or not. It's following what their prototype scope is. That's a proof here we can understand. But every time call of this getBean method, that bean object is created. This is a point here we can understand. Right, now what is the answer for this question here? Answer is very clear. Now try to understand this. All right, sir. If we provide prototype scope to the a particular bean, and if we use application context, then application context container will not create bean object. Application context container will not create a bean object at the time of application context startup. Okay, it will create a bean object the moment when we access getBean method. That's a point here we can understand. At the time of application context startup, bean object is not created, which has prototype scope. Then its object will be created at the time of calling getBean method only. Clear or not? Understand this once again. If we provide prototype scope to a particular bean, and if we use application context, then the application context container will not create a bean object at the time of application context startup. It will create a bean object the moment when we access getBean method. It will create a bean object at the moment when we access that getBean method. That's it. This is a simple scenario here we can understand. Got it or not? So already I checked it in practically that we can check this one. Through this we are able to get some clarity. This is one question, guys. All of you observe this. One more question here we are getting now. I think yesterday some people have asked it to me. Is it possible to provide both ID and name attributes in a single bean? Yes, sir. Is it possible to provide both ID attribute and name attribute for a single bean? We understood the difference between ID attribute and name attribute there yesterday, right? ID attribute is able to take only one identity, but name attribute is able to take what there multiple identities, where first one is an actual ID and the remaining things are what there alias names. Now the point is what there, is it possible to provide both ID and a name? Right, so now which The same thing I want to provide. Of course, both are possible, but the same value I'm providing for both. Is it possible? Let us check this. Same thing, ID attribute value, name attribute value, both we provided the same. Let us check this is possible or not. If you are getting any exception, not possible. Otherwise, it is possible. No exception. Output we are getting or not. Right, so now this is the point here we can understand clearly. Right, sir, leave it. That's okay. These are the concepts here we understood clearly. Fine. Next one is after that. Yesterday I have asked one question there. What is that question here? Is it possible to define user-defined scopes for the beans in a Spring framework? Our own scopes are possible or not possible? Answer is what there? Yes, it is possible to define our own scope to the bean component, but we have to use some custom scope configurations in the Spring configuration file. What custom scope configurations we are going to provide, then how to define that, everything here we are going to understand now. Yes, sir, all of you are okay or not? But before this, before this, we need to understand thread scope in Java. If we want to understand thread scope in Java, thread local class here we have to understand. Then only we are able to understand like what their custom scopes in a Spring framework. Okay, all of you are getting it now? See, first of all, what is my actual target? What is my actual reason? What is my actual requirement? I want to give this point here. Now try to understand it now. What's the point I'm telling to you? Observe carefully. Now tell me, what is the meaning of singleton scope? Now tell me. In singleton scope, bean objects are created for every what? For every what? Bean definition in a Spring configuration file. Am I right or not? For every bean definition, a separate bean object will be created. Okay, fine. That's nice. Next one is after that. One more point, last point. Let me check this. Then after that, I'll move on to this content here. One more question I'm asking to you. That the differentiation here we have to get clearly. Observe carefully. I want to simplify this total coding part, sir. Now observe carefully. Now inside this wish.java, okay, this way I want to use there. The remaining things I don't require. Just leave this one. The remaining coding part is not required for me. Just leave this one. Only constructor you have to take in. In the Spring configuration file, these things are also be not required with me. Not just I want to take like what there, this one. We can close this, not required. Simplify. I want to simplify the total content now. Not required to provide even these many things also be. ID is equal to what there? Wish one. Okay. I don't want to use even this scope attribute. Okay, then scope I will provide like what there. Scope is equal to singleton. What is the scope I'm using there? Singleton. Now here, this time it is like what there wish to. Class is what there same wish class. Again here I'm applying what there singleton. Got it or not? Now tell me how many bean definitions here are given there? Is that only one bean definition or more than one bean definition? More than one bean definition. Two times I provided these definitions. Bean definition. Bean tag in the sense bean definition. But for which class we provided these two bean definitions? No, to the same class or different class? No, to the same class. Observe carefully. To the same class we provided this. Of course, in both the bean definitions, scope is what there singleton. So here for the same class, two bean definitions are provided. Now here my question is what? If I start application context container, how many bean objects are created for this wish class? How many objects are created for bean? That answer for it. How many bean objects are created for this? Is that only one bean object or two bean objects? Understand? Guess it. What is singleton scope here? I said, yeah. Why I'm asking this question also, I'm giving some clarity for you. Observe this clearly. First of all, understand this. Then after that, I will give what is the problem with this particular one. Answer is very simple. Now try to understand this clearly. Okay. Now, if I execute this program, here we are getting this one here. If we are getting 2 times constructor execution, 2 objects are created. Only one time if you are getting output like what there, which bin object is creating, no, one bin object is created. Yes, sir, got it or not? Now let us check this one. In the main.java, I don't require this much of work here. Then I don't require this much of stuff, this much of content here. Let me remove this. Now here, just I want to use like this, just before application context startup and after application context startup. That's okay, fine. Now here, just I want to start this application context. Only the simple point is like what there, how many bean objects are created if you provide more than one bean definition for a single bean class. First of all, is it possible to provide more than one bean definition for a single bean class or not? So these many questions are coming there. We have to ready to answer for all of them. First question is what there? Is it possible to provide more than one bean definition for a single bean class in Spring configuration file? That is one question. So if it is possible, how many bean objects are created in the case of singleton scope in both the cases? Right, now observe carefully. Now I'm going to execute this. How many bean objects are created? No, 2 bean objects are created. Okay, please remember this. In the case of singleton scope, number of times I'm saying one point. Per bean definition, one separate bean object is created. How many bean definitions I provide in Spring configuration file? 2 bean definitions are given. 2 bean definitions are given. So per bean definition in the sense one object in the sense 2 bean definition, but 2 objects must be created or not? 2 objects must be created or not? Now tell me that both the objects are same or different. 2 times constructor is executed in the sense definitely 2 different objects only. Let's check this one. Let's check this one. Now here, what I have to do there? Now, wish one is equal to then application context dot get bean of here. What we have to provide there? Wish one in the sense first bean object. Then I want to display. Then I need to perform like what there? Typecasting. Then after that, here system dot println of wish one. All right, sir. Then the same thing again. I want to repeat it. No. Copy this. Now let me provide this. Now this time it is like what there? Wish two. Now here we are going to provide like what there? Wish two. Here we have to provide like what there? Wish two. Observe carefully. Spring configuration file. Wish one is for first one. Wish two is for what there? Second one. Observe carefully. All right, sir. Now here, if I execute this, anyway, 2 bean objects are created. Both the bean object references are same or different? Different reference values here we are getting. Clear or not? One more exercise on this note. Try to understand this. Listen carefully. Okay. Now tell me. Tell me, guys. What are these first 2 outputs and what are the last 2 outputs now? One minute. System output println of wish 3 and 4 that we have to provide. Huh. Come on, guys. Now, first 2 outputs are what? What we are able to get first 2 outputs and what we are able to get last 2 outputs. That's my requirement. Here also we want to provide like what there system output println like this. Anyway, 2 times we are getting object, which bean object is creating, that's okay. Next 2 outputs are what? Same output or different output? Last two outputs are what? Same output or different output? Analyze it. Singleton scope only. Overall, 4 bean object reference values are coming. 4 reference values, 4 times output we are getting. Out of this 4 times output, no, first 2 are same or not, last 2 are same or not. That's my question. By that we are able to get clarity. That means wish 1 and wish 2 are same or not. Wish 3 and wish 4 are same or not. Or else all 4 times same output. Damn sure already we have seen that output previously. 4 outputs are not same. But I have a question is like what are there? First 2 outputs, last 2 outputs, same or not? First 2 outputs are same or not? Last 2 outputs are same or not? That's the question. Think a minute about it. I'm trying to get 2 times get bin of wish 1, get bin of wish 1. That means for bean, for wish 1 bean, only 1 bean object is created. Same reference value must be written or not? Wish 2, with respect to wish 2, I created one more bean definition there for the same class, of course. That means there also one object is created or not. Then I'm trying to call that object by using get bean method 2 times now. Now the last 2 times same output or not. So finally, wish 1, wish 2 are same. Wish 3 and wish 4 are same or different. Right, sir. Now let us check this clearly. Clear? So finally, we understood clearly the point is like what there. For every bean definition in the Spring configuration file, a separate bean object is created in a singleton scope. Clear to all of you? For every bean definition in a Spring configuration file, a separate bean object is created. That is a statement here I'm giving there. All these proofs are coming on the base of that particular point only. Okay. Now I'm telling to you what is outside information about the singleton scope now. What 99% of the people are thinking. Of course, even some interviewers are also thinking the same way. What people are telling about the singleton scope now in general, what misunderstanding is going in general now, people are saying that for a bean class, a separate bean object is created. For a bean class, we are able to create a separate bean object. It is totally wrong. Why it is wrong now? Tell me. For a bean class, one bean object is created. In the sense, they are not thinking about 2 bean definitions in Spring configuration file for the same bean class. They are not taking that case. Simply their thinking is what there, one bean class. In the sense, one bean definition in the Spring configuration file. As per that, they are thinking for a bean class, one bean object. That's the meaning of singleton scope. This is a wrong statement. Of course, why they are misunderstanding this topic? No, the point is like what there at core level, at core Java level, we are able to understand what is a singleton scope, what is a singleton class actually. Singleton class is what they, for a class, one object. For one class, one object. That is the idea behind what their singleton class. Same name we have used in the bean or not? Singleton scope, singleton scope. Then immediately what people are mapping there, when the word is coming there, singleton scope, what people are mapping there? Okay, singleton scope in the sense, singleton design pattern. Singleton design pattern in the sense, per class, one object. That's why they are applying the same principle in Spring framework. They are saying that for a bean class, one object. But people are missing one point here. Where that people are missing, no, where we are providing the singleton that scope name in the bean configuration or not. In the bean configuration file only, we are providing scope is equal to singleton. Means that that singleton is per bean definition, not for bean class. That singleton is applied for what there, one definition, one bean definition, not for like what there, a class. Got it or not? So because of that reason, people are getting variation. Those who are certified in Spring framework now, they can identify this kind of minute points. So anyway, whatever it may be, but as you are understanding the content here, just we must understand the point is what there. Singleton scope in the sense, for a bean definition, one bean object will be created. Yes, sir, got it or not? For a bean definition, one bean object is created, not per one bean class. Of course, we can create more than one bean definition for a single class in a single Spring configuration file. Where if we provide different identity values now, then where if we're trying to like what there access get bean method with the 2 different IDs now, definitely two different objects are going to be created. Two different reference values here we are able to get. Yes, sir. Got my point or not? So this type of points here we have to understand clearly. Clear to all of you now. All right, sir. I had one funny situation with this particular point. Can I share that? All right. And anyway, names I'm not disclosing, no, but the situation I'm telling to you, now try to understand it. So as I'm taking classes here, then I had very good friends in different institutes also. So one of my best friend is taking spring classes in outside. So of course, previously he was very much close to me. Then he's taking might be classes in outside, some other institute there. He's also taking spring classes. In Durgasoft, myself, I'm taking spring classes now. But he's a senior than me. Then before my spring classes, he took number of batches there and spring. Okay, but I understood, analyze all the concepts here by doing some exercise in the system. But how we got the total knowledge? No, he's also a very good knowledgeable person on Spring framework. That anyway, names I'm not going to tell. Not good thing actually. So then what happened there? One fine day we had a casual discussion about the scopes. Then as part of the discussion, then singleton design pattern topic we are discussing there. Actually, we had the discussion on core level, singleton design pattern, this kind of things. No, unexpectedly, he has given the total information at core Java. Then I too agree for that. Suddenly, all of a sudden, he jump into the Spring framework. In Spring framework also, we are going to use that singleton design pattern more effectively. Already, I got some knowledge on Spring framework in this content here. Then immediately, what he said to me, yeah, we can apply the same singleton design pattern in Spring framework. No, Spring framework is implementing singleton design pattern more effectively. Tell me how it is more effective way. Already I got this loophole. Then he said to me, yes, per class one bean object is created in the case of singleton. No, if you declare that singleton scope in the bean configuration file, that automatically for class one bean object here we are getting. Then I said to him, actually he's more than me. He's a more senior than me. I know that, and he also be aware about it. But in general, able to show that kind of commanding in the subject also. Whenever we have some discussion, yes, I do agree that he's more senior than me. Okay, fine. Then what happened? I said to him, so no, I will not agree this particular statement. Then that casual discussion is going on in a serious discussion. Between two persons, the discussion almost is going on in a serious discussion. I said them, no, this is wrong, I'm saying that. But what is thinking there, his ego was hurted. The point is, when I'm giving statement, you are saying wrong, but you are junior than me. Really, almost it was happened maybe 5 to 6 years back. Previously worked here, and now he is at a different institute now. So this is a discussion there. Then immediately, all of a sudden, we cancelled both the classes immediately. We had classes there actually. We sat in the system. We sat for that. Then we had this kind of trial. Finally, I was right. I proved it. Of course, then later on issue, then we had a very good party. That's a different story. Leave it now. But finally, the thing is what there. See, this kind of misunderstandings are going on. Even of course, in my class also might be some loopholes may be identified that may not be avoided by me. I'm thinking about the subject in one side. Maybe other side may come. But when we are getting more practice on the concepts, no, then we are able to get this kind of loopholes. Understand, guys, what I'm telling you know. So finally, the point is like what there. What's the point I'm telling there? It is not the per class. The singleton scope is creating bean object not for per class. It is creating per what there bean definition in the Spring configuration file. Unfortunate thing is most of the interviewers are believing still singleton scope in the sense one separate object per class. Why? Because their mapping is what they right from core Java. In core Java, singleton scope in the sense, singleton object in the sense, what we are able to say there, one object per class. That is singleton class. That is what there, singleton class. Now it is what there, singleton scope. Singleton scope. Of course, it may be used internally singleton design pattern, but for what? Not for a class. It will be for what there, a bean definition. Everybody understand this content here clearly now, right? So anyway, just leave this one here. Now this is about our required points here, what I'm telling to you, right? These experiments are okay, fine. Next one is I want to go for another Another small topic here, custom scopes, user defined scopes. I want to define that. So before going to understand that user defined scopes, no, first we have to understand what is singleton scope, what is prototype scope. Best example, singleton scope, if you observe this, internal I'm giving 1 point. What is that point here I'm telling to you? Observe carefully. Scope in the sense, not any other one. Scope in the sense it is a map object. Scope is what there? It is a map object. Yes, sir. All of you get my point or not? Scope is what there? A map object. Scope is what there? A map object. Inside the map object, automatically bean objects are going to be stored along with their identities. If it is singleton, for bean definition, one bean object is created. If it is a prototype, no, there is also be map, no, but how many number of times we are calling get bean, that many number of times bean objects are provided. That many bean objects are providing. So, but finally, map is what, that means scope is what there, a map object, where bean objects are going to be stored, bean objects are going to be removed, depending on our context. Keep this point in our mind. So, scope is what there? Come on, scope is what there? A map object, where bean objects are going to be stored in the form of what there? Key value pairs. If we have this awareness, then it's very simple to understand our user defined scopes. No? Got it or not? Okay, keep this point. Scope is what there? A map object, where bean objects are going to be stored, bean objects are going to be removed depending on our requirement. Keep this point in our mind. Leave it. Now let's come for it. You know what is the meaning of singleton scope? No, for bean definition, one object. What is the meaning of prototype definition? Prototype scope? No, for every call of get bean method, a separate bean object. These 2 points are clear or not? Clear or not? Now I want to define my own scope now for the beans. Forget about the remaining scopes. No, I'm not going to talk about it. Why? Because we require web module, web environment for them. Leave it. Now my requirement is what there. I want to prepare a separate scope for the beans. What is the scope I want to prepare for the beans? No, thread scope I want to define. What is the scope there? Thread scope I want to define. What is the meaning of this thread scope? No. What is this thread scope actually? For every thread which is creating in a Spring application, a separate bean object I want to create. Just try to compare. In a singleton scope, for every bean definition, a separate object. In a prototype scope, no, for every call of bean, get bean method, a separate bean object. But now my requirement is what there? My customization is what I want to define my own scope. No, I don't want to prepare a separate bean object for definition. I want to create a separate bean object for every call of get bean. I want to create a separate bean object for every thread. For example, in my main class, in my Spring application, 10 threads I created. Of course, each thread may call get bean method 100 times. And maybe 5 to 10 number of bean definitions I provided for the same class. That doesn't matter for me. When I create 10 number of threads, 10 bean objects I want to create. For every thread, a separate bean object I want to create. Yes, sir. Got my requirement or not? Tell me, all of you now, tell me, what is the singleton scope now? For every bean definition, the Spring configuration file, a separate bean object. What is the prototype now? For every call of get bean method, a separate bean object. Similarly, now tell me what is thread scope now? My definition of thread scope is what there? For every thread, a separate bean object I want to create. That's my requirement. So if you want to understand this particular example, first we have to understand thread local class and the thread scope concept at the core Java. After that, we will come for this example. Yes, sir. All of you are getting clarity or not? Thread local, that there is a class in core Java in multi-threading. The topic we have to understand. After that only, we have to go for what there? Thread scope, that is user-defined scope in a core Java, in a Spring framework. Right, sir. I think all of you might be aware about the thread local class. All of you might be aware about the thread local class, but still I need to revise that. Some of you may not have information about this thread local, but we need to understand this clearly. All right, sir. Now observe carefully. What is the thread scope in core Java? After that, I will implement the same thing in Spring now. In core Java, what is the thread scope now? Listen, all of you know. For example, I'll explain through program there. By that we are able to get clarity. New project I'm taking now. Right, sir. Now here I want to give some location also. Right, sir. Now here our location would be Spring 8G0. Right. APP 07. Everything is okay. Now click on create button. This project. Right. Sorry. All of you observe carefully. In the same main.java, I'm writing that entire code for the sake of your understanding purpose. Now try to put more concentration. Now, class thread 1 extends the thread. There's a way to create a thread or not. Now, immediately, where we are going to keep our application logic to execute that application logic by creating new threads, what method we have to override? Come on, when I have to declare a thread class, one method here we have to override with our logic. What method? Exactly. What method? Run method. Inside the run method, we have to provide what there? Our application logic. Simple. For example, I want to provide for int I is equal to 0, I less than 10, I plus plus. Now inside this, just I want to write like what there? System.out.println of thread dot current thread dot get name. That means which thread is accessing this particular instruction, that thread object reference we are getting over the thread object reference. No, get name method here we are calling. This is we are able to get like what the thread name. Right, sir. Now this is one point here. This is about our class. Now tell me what I have to do there. I need to create thread one object or not? Thread one now. Right, T1 is equal to new thread one. Object here we created T1 dot what method here we have to call start method. Automatically start method will create a new thread. Start method will send that new thread to what the run method. Now run method will be executed. Internally start method calls run method. Not required to call that run method by us. Start method will call run method internally. Let's say this one. I think all of you might be aware up to this point here. It's a simple first approach of creating thread online. Clear or not? Let me run this example. 10 times we are able to get a thread name. Right, sir. Here the name what we are getting there, 0, thread 0 we are getting. Clear or not? Okay. Say for example, I want to give a name for the thread. To give a name for the thread, what we have to do, T1 dot set name method. There I want to provide what there, the first thread. I want to give that name, first thread. Or else maybe like what there, it's okay, no problem. First thread. Okay, like this here, we are able to give that name. So we are able to get first thread 10 times in the output here we are able to get now. First thread. Now automatically 10 times here we are getting output. Clear or not? All right, so let's leave this. Let's understand this. Next one is what next one here? I'm creating one more thread class. Now this time I want to provide its name is what there 2. Extends the thread. Same program. No changes on it. Then immediately in our program there, what we have to do there? Here thread 2 T2 is equal to new thread 2. And then after that T2 dot set name method. Now here I want to write like what there second thread. Now get T2 dot what method here we have to call start method. Tell me overall in this program how many threads are running? In this program overall how many threads are running? 3 threads. One is a main thread, remaining 2 are what there user defined threads. One is main thread, JVM created thread, that is main thread, and second two, next to 2 are what there user defined threads. Forget about main thread now. Okay, right, sir. 2 threads in the user defined thread through 2 are going to be executed. Now tell me, both the threads are executing with interference or without the interference? Two threads are executing in mixed way or in a separately both are executing now. Come on guys, that means what I'm expecting there, output we are able to get like mixed output or sequential output. In general, two threads I'm executing. Parallel, am I running both the threads or not? So output will be what there, mixed output or sequential output? Mixed output. Definitely what we are able to get, no, mixed output. That means all the threads, both the threads are executing in interference way. Interference way in the sense, one thread one time, next thread another thread one time, another thread one time, like this. In a parallelly, both the threads are going to be executed, not in sequential execution. Parallel execution is going to be happen. All right, so now let's execute this here. Of course, it seems like the sequential, but one or two times. If you run this one, then output will be generated like what there. Definitely, at one particular situation, we are able to get output like what there, mixed output only. Right now, this time we can understand this clear at least. Right or not? But of course, that is not depending on our hands. That's totally depending on thread scheduler internally. Thread scheduler is depending on operating system. So like this dependency is available on the basis of the timestamps which is assigned by thread scheduler for each and every thread. On the basis of that only threads execution is going on. If you execute few times there, automatically that the thread output will be changed. Only as you are the developer, what we are able to analyze the concept from this one, just we are going to think whether it is a sequential output or mixed output. Maximum mixed output here we are able to get. If I create two more threads now, definitely we are able to get what there, mixed outputs. Okay, fine. Up to this it's okay, clear. But observe carefully. Observe carefully. How many threads I created here in this example? Two threads I created. But I have a separate requirement. What is my requirement here? All of you guys observe carefully. My requirement is what there. I don't want to keep my business logic inside the run method. I want to define my business logic in a separate class. In a separate business methods, I want to define. Clear or not? All right. Observe carefully. Now, this is my business class A. Everybody understand this. This is my class A is what their business class. Inside my business class, I want to provide what their business method. Void M1 method is my one business method. Okay, here I'm going to provide some logic. For the same logic here, I want to provide. What is that logic here? In a thread one, what we are trying to execute there, that I want to keep inside this one. Next one is void M2 method. This is my another business method. Inside this business method, I'm going to implement what there? Same logic here again. Okay, now observe carefully, but my requirement is what there? What is my requirement? No, right. My requirement is I want to send thread 1 to this M1 method, thread 2 to what there? M2 method. That's my requirement. Yes, sir. All of you get my point or not? Thread 1 to what method? M1. Thread 2 to what method? M2. I don't want to send thread 2 to M1 method. I don't want to send thread 1 to M2 method. Thread 1 is to what? M1 method. Thread 2 to what there? M2 method. That is clear cut information there. Now tell me, when I start the threads, T1 dot start and T2 dot start, when I start the threads now, two threads are created or not? Thread 1 will come to the thread 1 class run method or not? Thread 2 will come to the thread 2 class run method or not? But from here, we need to bypass the thread 2 M1 method of class K. From this run method, second thread must be bypassed to M2 method of class K. It means that here we need to call A class M1 method or not? Here we need to call A class M2 method or not? Observe carefully. But if you want to call A class M1 method, A class object reference is required or not? A class object reference is required or not? To provide A class object reference variable to this thread 1 now, we need to take a constructor. Through the constructor only we are going to provide A class object reference value. So now here I'm going to take like what there, thread 1 of A small a. Now before this I need to provide like what there, A small a. Here we are going to write this dot A is equal to A. Just to make available A class object to the thread 1 class, to make available A class object reference value to the thread 1 class. We have used this setup A small a, thread 1 of A, this dot A is equal to A. Dependent value we injected. Right or not? Same setup is required even in the case of like what there, thread 2. In the case of thread 2 also we require the same setup, but the constructor should be like what the thread 2. Yes, clear? Okay. Now observe carefully. Here, before calling, before creating these two thread objects, no. First of all, here, what I need to do there, a small a is equal to new a. Single object is created. That single object here we have to pass to the thread one a. Now single object here we have to pass to like what there the same way. Now tell me, how many a class objects are created? Only one a class object is created, but single a class object difference we pass it to multiple thread objects or not? Single a reference we pass to multiple thread objects or not? Okay. Now inside this thread one, now you can understand it. A dot m1 method here we can call. Now here what we are able to call there a dot m2 method. That means object is single. Inside these two methods are available. Two threads we are getting into the single object. One thread is for m1 method, another thread is for what there m2 method. But still both the threads are running parallelly. Both the threads are running parallelly. Still we are able to get mixed output only. Got it or not? Still we are getting what there mixed output. Now this is my program. Now let me run this program here. Right, sir. Then what output here we are getting? See, don't think much about it. No, still it is what there mixed output only. Don't think about sequential output. Okay, might be then. If you execute frequently, few times, no, there we are able to get some output. Or else might be if you provide some time delay before displaying the data, purely we are able to get like what there mixed output. Okay, then I'll show this point here. If you want to get mixed output, then what I am telling to you. So before displaying the data, just I want to go for what there thread dot sleep of something else. Just 500 milliseconds here I want to take. That's enough. But exception here we are able to get here. So here we need to go for like what there more actions and a try and catch. Surround with a try catch. Okay, that we can do. There I'm able to show perfectly mixed output. Thread dot sleep of just 500 milliseconds I'm able to provide. Now here what we are able to do here more actions there we are able to get what they surround with this one there we are able to get it. Now we can run it now. I slow down that output, but we're definitely we are able to get what there mixed output here by having context switching. Right, so now let me execute this program now. Tell me guys, what output we are getting there? Same pass I given in both the threads or not? Same amount of pass I given in both the threads. So now we are getting mixed output. Effectively, we are getting what the mixed output in this case now. Clear or not? All right, nice. Up to that points are okay, fine, clear. Right, all of you understand this. All of you understand this. Now this is up to now basic multi-threading topic only, multi-threading concept only. But now my next requirement is what there thread scopes I want to define. I want to define what there thread scope. Clear how I'm going to define this thread scope now. First of all, in the same class, in the same Java file I'm taking there for our understanding purpose. Now here I want to take like what there class thread local. That means say for example class thread scope. What I given there thread scope extends thread local. Extends what are the thread local some generic type string I want to take. Okay, right sir. Inside this observe carefully. I want to inside the thread scope there are two methods, set method, get method. Set method is to set data to the thread object, that means thread scope. Get method is able to get data from the thread scope. So once the thread scope is available, we have to keep data in the thread scope or not, and we have to get data from the thread scope or not. For that set and get methods are available. Got it or not? Okay, now observe carefully. Here methods are available here. In the case without setting data through set method, if you're trying to get data, default data I want to provide. I see, understand my point here. I have not set data through set method, but I'm trying to get the data where automatically null value will come or not. But instead of getting null value, I want to get some default value. To provide default values for the get method, here we are going to override a method. What is that method here? Initialize, that means initial value method. Now where I'm going to provide like what there? No value yet. No value yet. I want to provide this data, this message now. Yet no value or no value yet. That like this here I want to provide this. When this method will be executed? Come on, when this method will be executed? Observe carefully. Here itself the total description is available here. Anyway, I'm simplifying the point here. When this method will be executed, without providing the data through set method, if we're trying to get the data from the scope, the automatically initial values method will be executed. It will provide some value as a default value. Instead of returning null value, I want to get what value here? No, default value. Of course, now try to understand this now. First of all, let me comment this now. If I comment this, we are able to get null values. Then after that, I will show importance of this particular one. Okay, right, sir. Now observe carefully. I want to remove this total part. No, not required. For output purpose only, I have taken this total. No, not required. Just leave this one. Now here, observe carefully, all of you know. We call T1 dot start, T2 dot start. Now tell me, T1 dot start and T2 dot start both are executed by which thread? T1 dot start and T2 dot start. These two methods are executed by which thread? Main thread. Both are available in which class? Which method? Main method. Main method is executed by which thread? Main thread. Main thread will call T1 dot start. Main thread will call T2 dot start. Okay, main thread is running parallelly. T1 dot start. T1 thread will go there. T2 dot start. T2 thread will go there. All right, sir. Now T1 thread will come to thread 1 class run method or not? Here we called a.m1 method or not? Now observe carefully. Before calling this a.run method, now here I want to set a data to the thread scope. In a T1 thread scope, I want to keep the data. If you want to keep data, thread local object is required or not? Thread local object is required or not? So that's why here what I'm going to create now, inside this thread 1, inside this class thread 1, I want to create an object. Which object here I want to create there? A static thread scope. All right, sir. Now here thread scope is equal to new thread scope object here I'm creating. It is a static variable I'm taking there. Why I'm taking static variable in the future will understand now. Now here inside this run method, what I'm going to use there? Thread scope dot set method I'm using here where string eval I want to provide there. What's the I want to provide there? Data in thread 1 scope. Data in what there? Thread 1 scope. That's the data what I'm providing, the data in thread 1 scope that I'm providing there. Similarly, we require to do the same thing in thread 2 or not? Right, so now here again I need to create the same object here. Let me copy this. Now inside this thread 2, let me provide this. Then after that, inside this run method, what I have to provide there now? Now here thread scope dot set. What method? What data here I want to provide there? Data in thread 2 scope. Data in what there? Thread 2 scope. Here data in what there? Thread 1 scope. Yes, sir. Got it or not? So in thread 1, which thread is available? Thread 1 is available. In thread 2 class, which thread is available? Thread 2. Now tell me in thread 1 scope, what data we provided there? No data in thread 1 scope. In thread 2 scope, what data we provided here? No data in thread 2 scope. Yes, sir. Got it or not? Right, so now these are the two things here we are getting clearly. After that, all of you observe carefully. Now inside this M1 method, inside this, now tell me, I'm asking this question there. M1 method is called from which thread? No a.m1 method is called in which thread class? No thread 1. That means thread 1 will access this M1 method or not? When thread 1 is calling M1 method, thread 1 will come to a class M1 method or not? All right, sir. Now thread 2 is calling what method here? No thread 2 class no a.m2. That means thread 2 will come to what method here? M2 method or not? Now let's see this one. All of you know, Cisna doubted println. Okay, M1 method. Method name is what there? M1 method. Which thread? No thread is what there? Thread 1 or not? That means first thread. Thread is what there? First thread. Okay, now here I want to write like what the thread dot current thread dot get name first thread. Okay, first thread here we are able to get data. Insert the first thread. Now I want to get a thread scope. I want to get what here? thread scope, thread 1 scope. Okay, data I want to get. In a thread 1 scope data, if you want to get, what we have to do there, thread 1 dot, there is a static variable. What is that? No, thread scope dot get method we can call. Thread 1 dot thread scope dot get method. So automatically the data which is available in thread 1 scope, the data will be displayed or not? The data which is available in thread scope, the data will be displayed or not? That's what I'm thinking now. Same in this section here, I want to write in like what there, inside M2 method. M2 method, but here we need to write that information like what there, M2 method, threaded dot current thread dot get name scope is what there, thread 2 dot. Now this time I need to call what there, thread 2 dot thread scope dot get. Or get my point or not? This is what exactly the data here we are getting. Right, sir. Now tell me, in M1 method, which thread scope is available? Thread 1. In M2 method, which thread scope is available? Thread 2. So in M1 method, thread 1 scope data we are able to get. That is what the data in thread 1 scope. In M2 method, what data here we are able to get now? Thread 2 data. Thread 2 data is what the thread 2 scope data is what their data in thread 2 scope that we are able to get. Let me execute this program here. Right, sir. Now let me execute this program. Now here, what data here we are getting? Now try to analyze this. What exactly the data here we are getting? Try to analyze this. M1 first thread scope data in first data in thread 1 scope. M2 second thread scope is what there data in thread 2 scope. That proper or not? In a thread 1 scope, what data we provided here? No, as is data in thread 1 scope. In a second thread scope, what data here we are getting there? Data in a thread scope. That proper data we are getting or not? All right, so now observe carefully. Observe carefully. Now again, I want to do cross platform. Cross platform in the sense like what there? In M1 method, which thread scope is available? Thread 1 scope. M1 thread dot current thread dot get name that we provided here. Current thread we are getting there. But here I want to get thread 2 scope data. Thread 2 dot thread scope dot get. In a thread 1 scope in M1 method, I want to get thread 2 scope data. But thread 2 scope is having in M2 method, not in M1 method. So there we are able to get null value or not? There we are able to get null value or not? In M1 method, thread 1 scope is available. Thread 1 scope data we are able to get. In M1 method, thread 2 scope is not available. But we are trying to get thread 2 scope data in M1 method. But scope is not available. There we are able to get null value or not? We'll check it. Similarly, let me copy this. Here I want to provide, but what I'm providing there, M2 method, threaded dot current thread dot get name, second thread only. But here in the second thread, that means in M2 method, thread 2 scope is available, but I'm trying to get what there, thread 1 scope now. Thread 1 scope data I want to get in M2 method. So cross platform means that thread 1 scope is not available in M2 method, but we are trying to get thread 2 scope data in M2 method. So that definitely we are able to get null value or not? Let us check this one here. Null values here we are able to get no. But first outputs are as is we are able to get. But second outputs we are able to get what the null values here. Now let's understand this clearly. Right, sir. Now what we are getting there? M2 method second thread data in second thread scope. That's okay. M1 method first thread scope is what there? Data in thread 1 scope. M2 second thread scope is what there? Null. Okay. Second thread we are getting. I think I did not provided clear data now. Observe carefully. Say for example, here second thread here this is the first thread here we are getting, but the scope is like what there. Now I'm trying to get what the thread to scope. Now get this is like what the thread to scope. Now get I'm going to get like what the thread one scope. Now understand this. You'll understand clearly. In M1 method, which thread scope is available? M1 method, first thread 1 scope is what? The data in thread 1 scope. That's okay. In M2 method, second thread is available. Thread 2 scope is what? The data in thread 2 scope. Up to this is okay. M2, second thread. In second thread, what scope we are trying to get? Thread 1 scope. What we are getting there? Null value. In M1 method, first thread. But thread 2 scope we are trying to get here. What value we are getting? Null value. Null values we are getting or not? Now, instead of getting null values, I want to display my own data. My own data. Here I want to display that. Got it or not? So to display my own data, in place of that, here what I will do there, just I need to override this particular initial value method, no value yet in the scope. No value yet in the scope. Right. Now here I want to run this example. There we are able to get our content. That's it. What we are getting there now, M1 method, threaded to scope, no value yet in the scope. All right, sir. M2 method, thread 1 scope, no value yet in the scope. Like this here, we are getting some data or not? All right, so now this is what exactly the meaning of like what the thread scopes. Up to this is what their core Java. Up to this is what their core Java program only where then total like what I'm telling there scopes, thread scopes we implemented in core Java. We are having like a private, default, protected, and a public. These 4 scopes are available. Along with these 4 scopes, one more scope here we can define. The scope is like what the thread scope. So up to how long, how many methods which are accessible by present thread? Up to that I want to make available data. How many methods are accessible by my present thread? Up to that I want to make available the data. That is called as what their thread scope. Got it or not? Private members are available up to the present class, and default members are available up to the present package. Protected members are available up to the present package, and the child class is available in other packages. And public members are available throughout the application, throughout the system. Similarly, thread scope members are available up to what there? Up to the members which are accessed by the present thread. For example, M1, M2, M3, M4 methods are available. Thread T1 is accessing M1 and M2 methods only. So I want to keep data in thread scope. The data I want to be submitted to M1 and M2 methods only, not to do what their M3 and M4 methods. Another thread is accessing M2, M3 and M4 methods. That other threaded data will be available to what their M3 and M4 method, but that data will not be available to M1 and M2 methods. That's my requirement. Yes, sir. All of you are getting it or not? So because of that reason here, we have to go for one more scope in Java. That is another scope is like what the thread scope. That is developers defined concept only. All right, sir. If you understand this topic, then the content will be very good. Now this program I want to keep in like what there in our document. No, observe carefully. Thread scope in core Java program, core Java application. Example on thread scope. So just one time think about analyze this total content here. I require this total parts here and tomorrow's application there. No, tomorrow I'm going to prepare user defined scope content here. There we have to answer for my questions. Yes, sir. All of you are getting clarity now. That's all, guys. Now this is the story today, and tomorrow I'll prepare directly a Spring example where I'm going to define what the thread scope for my beans. There we are going to see that. But before come for tomorrow's class, no, try to analyze this total content. This is purely related to core Java. Core Java concepts only we required. Right. Thank you. We'll meet on tomorrow. Tomorrow see the remaining content. Yeah, then Charan, annotations part we will discuss there after completion of the Java based, after completion of this XML configurations. Yes, we have some annotations content. I'll discuss with you clearly. Don't worry. All right. Thank you. Thank you, guys.